I think the main thing that we should look at with this, especially like with the differences, like what TJ was talking about, is like we can already see how this plays out in the world already. If you look at like, New Zealand, if you look at Australia, if you look at continental Europe, if you look at England, there are already fantastic examples of people that thought that like banning the firearms was going to be the panacea to prevent violence from happening. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, and all of us that have been touched by violence, we can all definitively say it's just like, it doesn't matter if they had a gun, it doesn't matter if they have a knife, it doesn't matter if they have a bomb, it doesn't matter what they have. It's just like, if you hate another individual, you will find a way.
Yes, you would.
You will always find a way. And this is the thing that they found out in Europe. It's just like they have like vehicle attacks where you'll have people like, getting into vans and then driving them through like, Christmas markets, just running over, killing tens of people.
Sounds like Christmas.
People, yeah. And you start having people like, like you had at like the cool airport the other day, just going there and just coming in with an S-vest or like, like a vehicle bomb, and they just blow up whatever they want. And it's just like, that's what that looks like. That's what, hate and violence really looks like. It's not necessarily like a random dude with a gun, because that's not always how violence manifests itself. That's not how hate always manifests itself.
And in those cases are extremely rare.
But not even just that, but it's just like you're never going to stop somebody that, has hate in their heart in that fashion. So the manner in which they do it, a lot of people will think that banning the firearms is the panacea, but you can even see over in Europe, you see stabbings, you see machete attacks, you see acid attacks, like wild shit you don't see here. Like you'll see like, some random guy will go up and like just douse a woman in acid. And like you see that over in England, and it's like you don't see that here.
But
like,
then you have the flip side of that where someone's going to say, but she didn't die.
Yeah, you will have them say that. You will have them say that.
Because, a very pretty 20-year-old who is now disfigured and blind is really happy.
Yeah,
it's all that.
Came out very, very well. Thank goodness.
Oh my fucking god!
But there's definitely the didn't die aspect of it. Like people get stabbed and paralyzed.
Yeah, but I think that's what it is it's never been like a panacea, because like it's like murder is already illegal, and you see how well that's worked.
Yeah.
So you look at that sort of thing, and it's like like if you find yourself in a situation like a lot of people do now, where the responses that you can expect from like law enforcement and from people that you expect to defend yourself are lackluster, and now they're finding themselves at the point now where they're getting defunded, and like now they're finding themselves where like, oh well, my morale's been broken because I've burnt up any goodwill I might have had in this community by the COVID restrictions. Now a lot of people are having to rely more on themselves. And this was something that I thought was interesting, is like, we've gone through and sold a lot of guns to a lot of people during the pandemic, and I was expecting after the pandemic was starting to kind of recede, and like after the riots had started to recede, a lot of people were going to be coming and returning and selling their guns. Everyone that I've sold a gun to, almost like 98% of the people, anecdotal of course, have not come to return their guns. And they've not come back to try and return them or sell them back to me or anything like that. But
what consignment, etc.
Exactly. And it's just like, and what does that mean? It means that like they don't necessarily like understand the idea of the Second Amendment, but they understand the idea that like not necessarily I need to defend myself in that particular fashion, or I have some like grander idea of like I need to defend my family and my country against tyranny, but it's just like if someone's coming for me, if it's me, I don't want to be caught lacking. And I think that comes into exactly what you were talking about earlier too, where it's just a lot of these people, they find themselves in situations now where I've had a lot of Asians come in and purchase from me too, because they've suffered a lot of a brunt of it during the coronavirus, but it's which is wild in its own way. But they've come in, they've purchased a lot of firearms, and I think that's the thing that's the most interesting thing is like a lot of these people are coming in, they don't really understand like the responsibility of having a firearm, and they've not been raised under that. So it's just like a lot of these people are more willing to wield them as a weapon, and ergo are a lot more dangerous than like a lot of the people that you would normally find out there. Where if you have a lot of people that are living in like, a higher crime area where there's a lot more struggle to be found out there, you're not necessarily always going out and looking for a fight, but if it comes and finds you, you want to be prepared.
Yes.
But for a lot of these people, I feel like they're more willing to apply force when there may not necessarily be a reason to do that. Just because they don't, culturally, I think, have like the same framing that we would use. But in personal opinion, of course, but...
I mean, the best saying is I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
That's exactly right.
It's a mantra I love to live by.
Never want to be caught lacking.